Why doesn't God destroy Satan? If God is almighty, if he is good, then why does evil still breathe? Why does the greatest enemy of heaven still roam the earth, devouring lives, wrecking marriages, and whispering lies in the dark? Why hasn't the fire fallen yet? This isn't just a theological puzzle, it's a wound we all carry. You felt it in the betrayal that left you numb, in the midnight panic attacks, in the prayer that seemed unanswered. Somewhere deep inside we ask, why would a good God allow such agony? But what if Satan's survival isn't a failure in God's plan, but part of it? What if the very suffering meant to destroy you is being redeemed into your greatest strength? What if every attack from the enemy is secretly building something unshakable in your soul? In this video, you're not just going to hear another explanation. You're about to witness a revelation, straight from Scripture, on why evil still exists, why God permits Satan to roam, and how your pain is a portal to divine power. We'll uncover the untold story behind why God allows Satan to live, the hidden connection between free will, suffering, and spiritual warfare, and why Satan's defeat isn't just coming, it's already begun. You'll discover why your trials are not punishment. They're proof that you've been chosen for something eternal. This truth will not only change how you see suffering, it may heal something inside you that's been silently breaking. So before you scroll, pause. Has God ever carried you through a fire? Drop it in the comments, because someone out there needs your story. And if this message stirs something in you, hit like, subscribe, and walk this path of truth with us. Let the light expose what darkness never wanted you to know. Before he was the devil, who Satan really was. He was not born a monster. He was not created with horns and hatred. He was crafted in beauty, a masterpiece of light. Before Satan ever became the adversary of your soul, he was known as Lucifer, the morning star, the guardian cherub who walked among the fiery stones of heaven. He was dazzling, pure, and majestic. The prophet Ezekiel said of him, "You were the seal of perfection, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty." He was covered in jewels, reflecting the glory of the Creator. God didn't make a devil. He made an angel. But beauty without humility becomes poison. And in the hidden chambers of pride, rebellion was born. Lucifer didn't fall because he was weak. He fell because he wanted to be God. He said in his heart, "I will ascend. I will raise my throne above the stars of God. I will make myself like the Most High." That wasn't just arrogance. It was war against the order of heaven. The most tragic part, it all started in a place of glory. This truth changes everything. It reminds you that even what appears perfect, without surrender, can become corrupt. That's not just about Satan, that's about us. Every time pride whispers, "You deserve more. You don't need God. You can take the throne." We're walking the same path Lucifer did. He wasn't cast down because God lost control. He was cast down because no rebellion can stand unchallenged before the throne of righteousness. But here's what's shocking. Satan still had access to influence. He still had power. Not ultimate power, but influence. He didn't lose his nature as a spiritual being. He lost his place of worship, which means he still roams, not as a king, but as a counterfeit, not as a creator, but as a destroyer. Have you ever seen someone with so much potential collapse because of pride? A leader, a friend, a version of yourself from the past. The fall of Lucifer is more than ancient history. It's a warning. The higher the calling, the more devastating the pride. But even here, God's sovereignty remains. What man or angel means for evil, God bends for his glory. So as you listen to this, Take a moment. Where has pride crept into your life dressed as ambition? Comment below. What are you surrendering today to keep your heart humble? This is how we fight the war, not with shouting, but with surrender. And now, let's walk deeper into what makes Satan so dangerous. Not just his past, but his very nature. The undying enemy. Why Satan cannot be killed. Yet he doesn't bleed, he doesn't age, he doesn't sleep or grow weary. Satan is not a man, he is a spirit, and that means he doesn't die like we do. He cannot be shot, stabbed, or buried. No bullet can stop him. No tomb can contain him. But that does not make him eternal. Only God is eternal. Satan is everlasting only by permission, not by power. His continued presence on earth isn't a sign of God's weakness. It's a display of God's supreme control. The Bible tells us Satan will be destroyed. In Revelation 20:10, we read that the devil who deceived the nations will be thrown into the lake of fire where torment never ends. But the question that lingers in so many hearts is this: why not now? Why wait? Why let evil roam when it could be crushed? Because God is not only just, he is wise. Because God is not only powerful, he is patient. If Satan were destroyed the moment he rebelled, we would never understand the power of mercy. We would never comprehend the depth of God's justice and grace. It is in the long arc of time that his righteousness is revealed. Think about it. If a criminal is caught, we don't skip the trial. We let the evidence unfold. We show the world what happened. God, in his mercy and perfection, is allowing every creature to witness, not just the evil of Satan, but the unstoppable triumph of his kingdom in the face of it. This is not delay. This is drama, holy, eternal drama, unfolding before the eyes of angels and men. Imagine if evil were erased instantly. We wouldn't know perseverance. We wouldn't know courage. We wouldn't know what it means to choose light when darkness is easier. So Satan is not dead yet. Not because God can't, but because God's story is still unfolding. And in that story, your faithfulness in the face of temptation is making heaven rejoice. Every time you resist the lie, every time you speak truth, every time you trust in the fire, you are proving Satan wrong all over again. Your life, right now, is a battlefield. But you are not powerless. You are anointed. And the war hasn't been left in your hands alone. God fights for you. His angels encamp around you. His spirit fills you. Drop a word in the comments that represents what you're standing firm against today. Let this space be a declaration of resilience. We've seen who Satan was. We've seen why he hasn't been destroyed. But now we must face the hardest truth of all. Why does God allow this enemy to serve his purpose? The master chess game. Satan as a pawn in God's plan. It sounds blasphemous, doesn't it? That Satan, the enemy of our souls, the father of lies, could be used by God. But read the scriptures, and it becomes undeniable. Satan tempts Jesus in the wilderness, and it becomes the stage for the Messiah to declare victory over every human weakness. Satan enters Judas, and it triggers the very event that leads to the crucifixion and our salvation. Satan provokes Job's suffering, and it reveals a faith so radiant, even hell is silenced. Satan stirs Joseph's brothers to sell him, and it positions Joseph to save a nation from famine. Over and over again, we see it. What the enemy means for harm, God repurposes for glory. This is the scandal of grace, that even evil bows without knowing to the sovereignty of the Most High. Have you ever looked back and realized that the pain you cursed became the path that changed you? That the heartbreak you begged God to end became the doorway to healing you never expected. This isn't spiritualizing pain. This is recognizing purpose in the fire. God does not author evil, but he is not afraid to use it. Satan may scheme, but he cannot surprise the author of time. The devil's every move is within the boundaries God allows. He is not a co-equal. He is not a rival. He is a tool, a defeated enemy on a ticking clock, unwittingly serving the plan he tried to ruin. And this is why you should never fear the darkness, because even the night submits to the sunrise. Even what breaks you today may build you tomorrow. Even the betrayal, the loss, the crushing disappointment, God is not wasting any of it. Your story is not over. It's being woven. Your trials are not random. They are refining. And when Satan thinks he's winning in your life, God is preparing a table for you in the presence of your enemies. He's writing a testimony that will leave hell shaking. If you've ever walked through a moment like this, where Satan's attack only pushed you closer to Jesus, share it in the comments. Let others see that Satan is not in control, because the king still reigns, and the chessboard belongs to him. Why love requires a choice. The gift and danger of free will. God did not create robots. He created souls. Souls capable of love, of surrender, of devotion. But true love is impossible without freedom. And freedom always carries a risk. The very reason Satan could rebel, and Adam could fall, and humanity could wander into darkness, is the same reason you can choose to worship, to forgive, to return home to the Father. This is the sacred paradox of free will. Without it, there would be no evil. But without it, there would also be no love. Imagine a lover forced to say, "I love you" every morning, programmed to obey without heart, without choice, without question. That isn't devotion, that isn't love. That's tyranny dressed in holiness. And our God, who is love, would never force what must be freely given. In the Garden of Eden, there were two trees. One was life, the other was choice. The tree of the knowledge of good and evil wasn't a trap. It was the test of freedom. Every true relationship must include the possibility of betrayal, or else it's not relationship at all. This is why Satan was given the right to choose, why Adam was given the garden, why you and I are given the wilderness of temptation. It's not proof of God's absence, it's proof of his honor. He trusted you with the power to choose him. And yes, sometimes we choose wrong, sometimes we choose lust over love, ego over humility, comfort over calling. But every time we choose God, when it hurts, when it's costly, when it's lonely, we become living proof that love is real. There was a time when I held on to unforgiveness. A friend I trusted had wounded me deeply, and though my lips said I'm fine, my heart built walls. And God in his kindness whispered, "You are free to hate, but you are also free to heal." I chose healing, slowly, painfully. But in that freedom, I found a kind of love that obedience alone could never teach me. Freedom is both fire and light. It can burn everything down, or ignite revival. If you've ever had to make a hard, holy choice, to forgive when it felt impossible, to obey when it cost everything, share your journey below. Someone needs to see what love looks like when it's chosen, not forced. And now, let's turn our eyes to something sacred and painful. How that very freedom, in a world filled with evil, becomes the furnace that refines our faith. Trials by fire, how evil refines the righteous. There is a fire that doesn't destroy you, it defines you. The devil thinks trials are weapons. God turns them into wombs. Every fiery ordeal you've faced, every betrayal, heartbreak, diagnosis, failure has not been wasted. You may have cried in the dark, but heaven was shaping something eternal. Think of Job, a man who lost everything, his wealth, his children, his health, and yet refused to curse the name of the Lord. Satan thought he could break him, but Job's ashes became incense. His pain became worship. Or Joseph, abandoned by his brothers, sold as a slave, falsely accused, forgotten in prison, years of darkness. Yet when the moment came, Joseph didn't retaliate. He saved them. And he said words soaked in heaven. You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good. Have you been there? In the dark room of confusion, asking why the pain won't end? Perhaps even now you feel the sting of unanswered prayer, the silence of heaven. But listen, refining happens in silence. Diamonds are made in pressure. Gold is purified in fire. There is a woman I once met. Let's call her Sarah. She lost her husband to cancer just weeks after giving birth to their first child. The grief was unbearable. But every night, as the baby cried and her heart ached, she read Psalm 34 aloud. The Lord is close to the broken-hearted. Today, she runs a support group for widows, reminding them they are not invisible to God. Her wound became a ministry. Her tears became living water. This is the divine reversal. Satan means to destroy you, but God lets the fire forge you. This is why James writes, "Count it all joy when you face trials, for the testing of your faith produces perseverance." The world avoids pain, but children of God walk through it, because we know what's waiting on the other side. When your faith stands in the fire, it silences hell. Drop a word below that represents a trial you've survived. Let your story be a torch for someone still walking through smoke, because we're not done yet. Now we unveil a hidden weapon, something the enemy dreads even more than defeat. A believer who praises through pain, what the devil fears most. A believer who still praises hell trembles not when we preach, but when we praise. Not when the bank account is full, not when the diagnosis is clear, not when the skies are blue, but when all is lost, and yet we still lift our hands. That's when Satan screams, because praise in prosperity is natural, but praise in the valley, that's supernatural. Daniel knew this. When praying became illegal, he didn't hide. He opened his window, knelt as always, and let his worship echo through Babylon. The lions didn't scare him, silence did. And when God shut the mouths of beasts, the king declared, "Surely your God is the living God." Paul knew this too. Chained in a prison, bleeding from beatings, he and Silas sang hymns. The ground shook, chains fell. The jailer got saved. Worship didn't just set them free, it freed everyone around them. Your praise is not just survival, it's warfare. It breaks chains you can't even see. There's a man I know, Tom, a recovering addict rejected by his family, lost in shame. One Sunday he wandered into a church, tears running, fists clenched. As the worship began, he didn't know the lyrics, but he lifted his arms. That was the moment everything shifted. Today, Tom leads worship at a rehab center. He sings not because life is easy, but because grace is real. This is what the devil fears, voices rising from ashes. When you praise in the midst of chaos, you declare, "Satan, you didn't win, you pushed me to my knees, and that's where I found fire." If your song ever came through tears, if your worship ever rose from wreckage, let someone know in the comments. Let heaven echo louder than hell. Because when we worship through weeping, we remind the universe the light has not been overcome. And now, with that same light burning brighter, we must ask, what if all evil vanished tomorrow? What would it mean? And would it be love? What if God removed all evil today? If God eliminated all evil right now, every demon silenced, every temptation vanished, every trace of sin erased, would this world become heaven, or would something essential die with it? We cry out for peace, for comfort, for justice. But we forget that the cost of such a world is choice. Without evil, there would be no more betrayal, but also no more bravery, no more suffering, but also no more sanctification. A world without evil would not be a world of free beings. It would be a world of spiritual automation, where worship is empty and obedience is programmed. God could crush darkness with a word. He has the power. But he withholds that power so that you and I may learn what it means to love him freely, in the tension, in the chaos, in the conflict between light and shadow. He allows the presence of evil because he is shaping eternal sons and daughters, not temporary slaves. Imagine erasing every dark valley from your story. Would you still know how to pray the way you do? Would your praise have roots, or would it be shallow like sun-scorched soil? The truth is, your scars carry more wisdom than your victories. Your broken seasons birthed a strength that comfort never could. If evil were gone today, many of us would be gone with it. The lies we've entertained, the anger we've nursed, the addictions we've excused. Erasing evil completely would mean erasing humanity as we know it. That's not salvation, it's annihilation. Instead, God chose a better way, redemption. That's why the gospel is not about destruction, it's about transformation. The cross was not a sword raised against the world, it was a bridge built over hell, and it still stands today. You are not called to escape evil, but to overcome it, not by your might, but by his Spirit within you. Have you ever wished the pain would just vanish? We all have. But maybe that very ache is the fire refining something eternal inside you. If there's something you once asked God to take away, but now see his hand in, drop it in the comments. Let someone else know they're not alone in the mystery. This is not the end of the story. Evil will not reign forever. And the day is coming when justice will thunder and all things will be made new. But until then, you were born for this battlefield, not to be crushed, but to rise. Now let's glimpse the endgame, the sealed fate of evil and the burning triumph of God's justice. Satan's expiration date, the guaranteed end of evil. The enemy is not eternal. He is not infinite. He is not God's equal. He is a created being on a countdown clock, a liar with an expiration date. His doom is not a theory, it's written in fire across the pages of Revelation. Revelation 20:10 declares that the devil will be cast into the lake of fire, tormented day and night, forever and ever. No parole, no comeback, no second rebellion. It will be over. Evil will be exiled from existence. This truth isn't just theology. It's oxygen for the weary. It means every struggle, every wound, every injustice you endure has an end. The darkness has a deadline. Your pain has a finish line. Satan fights so hard not because he's winning, but because he's losing. He roars louder because he knows his time is short. His desperate attacks are evidence of his impending defeat. God's justice is not delayed. It is perfectly timed. Like a master architect, he is aligning every moment, every tear, every unanswered question to climax in a holy reckoning. And on that day, evil will not simply be restrained, it will be erased, gone forever. Until then, you are not helpless. You carry the same Spirit that raised Jesus from the dead. The very presence of God resides in you, equipping you to trample on lies, stand in truth, and walk in victory. You're not waiting for heaven to fight for you. It already has. There was a man named Jake, a teenager drowning in anxiety. Panic attacks seized him in school, at church, in silence. He asked God for healing, but it didn't come how he expected. Instead of instant relief, he was given daily strength. He read the Psalms aloud, wept through them, and found peace not in escape, but in endurance. Now Jake leads a small group, helping others walk through fear. What was once torment became testimony. The end of evil is guaranteed. But until it comes, let your life prophesy it. Let your joy be rebellion. Let your love be defiance. Let your holiness be a warning shot to hell. What's one lie the enemy whispered that God silenced with truth in your life? Share it below. That confession might break chains for someone else. Now let's take that burning truth into our reality. How do we live while Satan still lurks? How do we endure until glory breaks the sky, from victim to victor? How God uses your pain. You were never meant to just survive. You were born to overcome. And that doesn't mean avoiding pain. It means being transformed by it. God doesn't waste wounds. He writes victory into them. The betrayal that shattered you, the loss that paralyzed you, the sin that almost swallowed you whole, those are the very places where resurrection is born. You are not defined by what you went through. You are defined by who carried you through it. There's a woman named Lisa who found herself divorced and abandoned after years of faithfulness. She cried herself to sleep for months. But one day, she opened her Bible and read Isaiah 43:2. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. That verse became her anchor. She started a Bible group for other divorced women. Today they gather not to grieve, but to grow. Her pain birthed purpose. Satan wanted her bitter. God made her a builder. Your story may still be unfolding. Maybe you're in the thick of it right now, confused, tired, questioning everything. Hear this. You are not alone. You are not forgotten. God is closer than breath. And what you walk through today is building something weighty, eternal, unstoppable inside of you. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are a vessel of glory. The enemy attacks what threatens him. If he's coming after you, it means something powerful is in you. What he hoped would break you may be what builds others. What he hoped would silence you may become your song. If you've ever felt pain transform into power, leave a word below. Just one word that says, God met me here. Now let's take up the weapons we've been given. Let's live like warriors in a world of war. Battle strategy. How to live while Satan still roams. The war is real, but so is your armor. You were not left unarmed. Heaven has equipped you with divine strategy, sacred weapons, and spiritual fire. The first weapon is the Word. When Jesus was tempted in the wilderness, he didn't argue with the devil. He quoted Scripture. It is written. That phrase shattered Satan's schemes. Memorize verses like Psalm 91, Ephesians chapter 6, Romans 8. Let the word live in your mouth. Second, pray like your life depends on it, because it does. Prayer is not begging, it's battle. It's aligning your spirit with heaven. When you pray, angels move, chains break, clarity comes. Pray even when you don't feel like it, especially then. Third, choose love, radical love. Forgive quickly. Speak life. Serve those who hate you. Love disarms darkness faster than arguments ever could. Fourth, never isolate. The enemy loves silence and secrecy. Find your fellowship. Lean into church, small groups, spiritual family. You are strongest when surrounded. Hebrews chapter 10:25 reminds us, do not neglect meeting together. Lastly, declare your identity. You are not a slave to sin. You are not a child of fear. You are a son, a daughter, a warrior. Speak it, walk in it. Let your posture preach before your mouth ever opens. This is how we fight, not by retreat, but by rising, not by fear, but by fire, not by hiding, but by shining. If you've committed to stand firm, type "I stand" in the comments. Let your declaration be a shout in the spirit realm. And now, with sword in hand and truth in heart, we turn to the final promise. Light always wins. Let us close this battle cry with glory. The enemy is loud, but he is not lasting. His attacks may echo through your nights. His whispers may crawl into your thoughts, but he does not have the final word. God does. Always. And that truth, rooted in Scripture, sealed by blood, lit by resurrection, must become the anthem that thunders through your soul when the darkness closes in. You are not forsaken. You are not forgotten. The presence of evil is not proof of God's absence. It's a sign that the story is still being written, and the author hasn't put down his pen. There is a light inside you that hell fears, a flicker of holy fire that no storm can snuff out. And though the world may grow cold, and the voices of doubt may rise like a flood, you have been marked for more. You were created not just to endure, but to radiate, not just to survive, but to shine. The fact that you are still standing, still breathing, still listening, is evidence that your calling has not expired. The war may rage, but the Lamb has already overcome. Maybe you've been through hell and back. Maybe you're still walking through it. The shadows feel longer. The silence from heaven has stretched too far. But look closer. Underneath the silence is a steady hand guiding you. Beneath the storm there is a whisper. You are mine. I have called you by name. You are not alone. The devil knows your name but calls you by your sin. God knows your sin, but calls you by your name. That's the difference. One binds, the other breaks chains. One accuses, the other restores. One wants you broken, the other loves you even in your brokenness, and calls you beautiful, chosen, redeemed. Your scars do not disqualify you. They are holy ink, proof that the fire did not consume you. They're not signs of shame, they're seals of survival. And one day, someone will need your story more than your silence. Someone trembling in the same darkness will see your light and remember their own flame. So don't hide what hurt you. Let it become the oil that fuels your lamp. God has never been afraid of the enemy. He doesn't tremble at rebellion. He transforms it. What Satan sowed in pride, God reaped in grace. What the enemy tried to destroy in Eden, God restored at the cross. And what still aches in you today, God is already redeeming. So many still wonder, why doesn't God destroy Satan? Why does God allow evil? Why does God permit suffering? The answer is not always a line of logic. It is a lifetime of love. Love that lets you choose. Love that lets you grow. Love that lets you fall and rise again. Because it is in the valley, not the mountaintop, that your roots go deep. And when your faith has survived the flame, it becomes unshakable. There's a reason you're here, listening, leaning in. You were born for this moment, for such a time as this. You were not saved to stay silent. You were not called to remain chained. You were set apart to awaken, to carry the glory of a kingdom that cannot be shaken. You may feel small, but you are royal blood. You may feel forgotten, but heaven knows your name. Hell may accuse you. People may abandon you. Life may confuse you. But the word of God remains. Greater is he who is in you than he who is in the world. That is not a metaphor. That is your reality. Satan roars, but he is toothless before the Lion of Judah. He deceives, but his time is short. And until that day when every tear is wiped away and every tongue confesses the name above all names, we stand, we fight, we praise, we hope. And if this message found you in your night, may it become your sunrise. If it gave you language for your silent battles, let it breathe fire into your faith again. You are not walking alone through the valley. There is an army rising and you are part of it. Saints who still believe in deliverance, sons and daughters who still pray with tears. Warriors who don't bow to culture, but kneel in surrender. And if this word has touched something deep in your soul, if it helped you breathe when you didn't know you needed breath, if it brought clarity to your confusion, light to your shadows, or just reminded you that you are not the only one fighting, then I invite you, take a moment, like this video, subscribe to this channel, not for vanity, but because light must travel, truth must echo, faith must multiply. Let the algorithm serve the kingdom. Let this message reach someone who is drowning in silence. And if you feel stirred to offer a small act of support, if you feel this content brings warmth to your spirit, if it lifts you in your weary moments, or brings God's voice closer to your everyday life, I welcome you to send a breath of encouragement our way. Just a little energy to help keep these messages burning bright. Every bit is sacred. Every gift is seed. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Let this space be more than a video. It's a sanctuary, a digital altar. Drop a comment, share a word, speak life. You never know who is reading, who is waiting for someone to say, "Me too. I've been there, but God brought me through." Don't underestimate your story. Don't underestimate your fire. You may be the voice that breaks the silence for someone on the edge. The truth is, the devil is not winning. He is watching the sons and daughters of God awaken. And every time you lift your head, every time you speak his word, every time you stand when it would be easier to fall, you remind hell that the Lamb still reigns. Your life is not random. Your pain is not pointless. Your voice is not wasted. Your light is not small. You are heaven's answer to hell's attempt, and you are part of a kingdom that cannot be shaken. Thank you for walking this road with me. Thank you for believing that truth is still worth speaking, that faith is still worth fighting for, and that hope, real, raw, unshakable hope, is still alive. Until the day evil ends, we will keep standing. Until the skies split and every knee bows, we will keep praising. Until the lion returns, we will keep roaring his name. Let there be light, and let it begin with you.